Screen not now. Okay. I think you have to do the introduction and all that. Okay. Okay.
Yes. ஆரம்பிச்சிடலாமா?
When 5 minutes இருக்கு.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
5 more minutes.
See, the light போட முடியல. The light போட்டு அந்த லைட் வேணும். இன்னொரு லைட் வந்து this is better, I think. Too much punctual. 2 minutes. I will unmute. I will mute.
ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிடலாமா சார்?
எஸ் சார்.
சார் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிடலாமா?
எஸ் சார் நான் மைக்கை மியூட் பண்ணி வச்சிருந்தேன் சார், நாய்ஸ் வராமல் இருக்கிறதுக்காக.
ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிடலாம் சார். ஓகே, ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணலாமா?
ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணலாம்.
சார்.
Okay. Good morning. It's a pleasure to meet you all. On behalf of the management, St. Joseph's College, administrators and faculties of Department of Botany, I welcome each one of you to this webinar. I am Egbert Selvin Rose, Associate Professor of Botany. And thank you for taking time out and being here today. The topic today is microalgae technology for industrial effluent treatment and restoration of polluted water bodies. And the presenter is Dr. V. Sivasubramanian. Now I invite Dr. S.R. Sendil Kumar, Head and Associate Professor of Botany, to give a formal welcome speech.
Thank you, Dr. Selvin Rose. Greetings in His holy name. In the present scenario, huge challenges are imposed on phytoremediation technology, but we need to be optimistic to employ it for both remediation and industrial applications. There is a need for continuous assessment of algal-based technology in industrial and academic settings, such that there is more of awareness and discussions among industrialists, researchers, and students, so that this technique can be implemented in the most beneficial way for the overall development of mankind without harming the environment. Very good morning, dear friends. The Department of Botany is organized a Puttanaras webinar lecture today on microalgae technology for industrial effluent treatment and restoration of polluted water bodies, which provides a platform to understand the sequel related to the topic and mesh with the subject expert. Creativity and innovations are the two key elements of a successful leadership as far as in the education sector. Reverend Father R.X. Xavier S.J., our beloved principal of this great institution, who motivate always us, even during the pandemic time also. I thank him for his support. Dr. V. Sivasubramanian, Director, Phycospectrum Environmental Research Center, Chennai, is the speaker of today's webinar. His mastery and well proficiency in the field. On the behalf of the college management and the botany department, I extend my hearty welcome to the speaker, Dr. V. Sivasubramanian. Welcome you, sir. Special note of welcome to Dr. Sagai Satish, Dean of School of Biological Sciences, the organizer of the webinar, Dr. A. Egbert Selvin Rose, our department colleagues, and Dr. Konika Raj in a special way. I welcome all the webinar participants of various institutions.
I think you have to come offline, Selvin.
Yes, sir. So, yes. So, thank you, sir. So, now I am pleased to introduce Dr. V. Sivasubramanian. Currently, Dr. V. Sivasubramanian is the Director of Phycospectrum Environmental Research Center, Chennai. He has spent more than 25 years in teaching and acquiring research experience in the area of algal technology. Dr. Sivasubramanian has received his PhD degree in algal physiology and biotechnology during 1983. And he has guided 20 PhDs and handled several industrial projects and published more than 100 research articles in nationally and internationally popular journals. And he has served as the core committee experts on second generation biofuels, a Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Government of India, a member of Monitoring Committee of CSIR and DBT, a member of Project Approval of DST, and member of Scientific Advisory Committee, DBT. Dr. Sivasubramanian is the chief editor of Journal of Algal Biomass Utilization, assistant editor of PhyCos of Phycological Society, a member of editorial board of Seaweed Research and Utilization, International Journal of Engineering, Science and Technology, Bioresearch Technology, and Indian Hydrobiology. And he has received a Best Reviewer Award in 2014. And he is a pioneer in taking algal technology to handle effluents in large-scale industrial treatment plants. The world's first phycoremediation plant was set up at SNAP Alginates Industry with the research support from his group. And he also implemented algae-based treatment technology in industries like SAR Chandra, Chennai, Ultramarine and Pigments, Tirumala Chemicals, STAHL India, all the three are in Ranipet, Vellore district, Hindustan Coca-Cola, Arvind Mills are both in Ahmedabad, Suntex Processing Mills, Titan, Vani Pharma, all in Hyderabad, Techno Drug, Tata Steel, both are in Jamshedpur, Pacific Energy, Columbia, and much more. And Dr. Sivasubramanian is the in collaboration with Core Biotech, that is PhyCore, to implement phycoremediation in Latin America. As the first activity of this collaboration, a pilot plant to handle petrochemical effluent has been installed at Pacific Rubiales Industry at Columbia very recently. Iran's first algal cultivation facility at Chabahar has been established with technical support from Dr. V. Sivasubramanian. And recently signed an agreement with Astral Industrial Corporation, Cyprus Limited, to put up algae production facility at Sicily for biomass to biogas production. Such an eminent person we have with us to present his experience. And now, Dr. Siva, actually I know Dr. Siva since 1999 when I registered my PhD under his guideship at first. And in my perception, the secret behind Dr. Siva's research success is his research works not confined to a laboratory. It permeates through the field. And he travels frequently across India and around the world to execute his research works. And the prevailing situation has a huge impact on his travel planning. And I believe the pandemic lockdown has both pros and cons. To the positive side of it, that we able to have Dr. Sivasubramanian with us today. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation. And before we get into the actual business, let me share a few housekeeping updates. We would love to hear from you during today's presentation. And if you have any questions for our speaker, please feel free to post it through the chat box. And he'll be answering the questions at the end of the session. If you don't get to your questions during today's webinar, we will be sure to follow up afterward. So without any further ado, I would like to kick things off by welcoming Dr. V. Sivasubramanian. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. I think I'll start sharing my screen. Is it showing the screen?
Yes, Yes, sir.
Kelvin?
It's not,
Huh?
it's not.
Okay, this
No, no, no.
screen is there? No, it's not
Yes,
there.
sir. Able to see.
Okay, I think Selvan is not
Okay.
able to see.
Yes, yes, sir. Okay.
Okay, I think my voice is okay. I think. Hello, Selvan. Can I go ahead? The voice
Yes. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
screen is already shared. Are you able to see the screen? No. Okay. Share desktop or share whiteboard? Which one? Desktop. Okay. Share computer sound. It is there. Are you able to see the screen? Okay. Okay. Put it here. So good morning, everyone. I think that's a long introduction. I think Selvin has summarized everything what I'm going to talk. So I don't need to give an introduction of what I'm going to do in another 30 to 40 minutes. So what I'll be doing, I think I have a lot of slides. So I'll be showing only a few slides, and probably I'll stop my presentation at about 45 minutes from now. And I'll be summarizing very quickly what we have been doing in the area of effluent treatment in industries and in small scale and large scale. And also, as we have been into restoration of polluted water bodies, but it is very important. Of course, the water bodies get polluted from the industries mostly. I think you might have seen the newspaper recently. That is another positive side of COVID, because the industries are not working. Ganges is becoming clean, and Yamuna becoming clean, and water bodies becoming clean. All those, I think, news items and photographs, videos you might have seen in newspaper. So the source of pollution mostly come from industry effluent. Of course, you cannot completely control 100%. Removal of pollutant is very, very difficult. Finally, they end up in water bodies, which are very precious now. So we have to restore those water bodies very efficiently with cheaper technology, so that anybody can follow. So that's what we have been working on for the last few years. And industry effluent treatment is our starting point. So we started it around maybe 2000. 20 years we have been working on this. So without much delay, I think I can go into my presentation. Okay, do you see the second slide? Selvin? Where is it go? Okay, it's okay. So now what I'm showing here is a site called as Pacific Rubiales. I think I've written there in Colombia. So this is one of the very successful projects we completed a few years back. That is a starting point for our venture into various projects in Colombia. So this industry, Pacific Energy, is second biggest in Colombia. An oil drilling industry. The number one in Colombia is Ecopetrol. Pacific is second one. So they invited me years back to handle their wastewater, because when they drill oil, it comes with a lot of crude oil and a lot of water. They also inject a lot of chemicals, and they also come out. They remove the oil and the water with a lot of nutrients and huge amount of coliform bacteria. Of course, some chemicals and traces of aromatic hydrocarbons. It forms a whole lot of polluted water, and they have to discharge it. In fact, they have been discharging it as long as they have been generating around 200,000 barrels a day. into the river. There is a big river called as Magdalena River. So that river goes into Caribbean Sea. So they have been dumping it. But when the industry wanted to go for increase in production of oil, they jumped from 200,000 barrels to 300,000 barrels of wastewater generation. Then the Colombian government told them, okay, you have to treat and then discharge. Treatment is removal of nutrients and reduction of coliform bacteria and probably degradation of aromatic hydrocarbon. It's very, very trace. That's not a major issue. So they called me, and you might be wondering why a company in South America, Colombia, should call a fellow sitting in Chennai. That's mainly because just before they invited me, I completed a very successful similar project with petroleum industry waste in Kakinada. So that project from the laboratory to scale up, we just completed with a record time of 3 months, and we got very good results. And the results were published, and then they have been in magazines and other forum. And that attracted the attention of the Pacific Energy people, and they invited me, and I got into contact with another gentleman who is sitting here. I think you can see his photo here. So he is probing something into the wastewater. So he is Dr. Jaime. He is a medical doctor, MBBS, MD in trauma care, but he has completely closed his clinic now. So he has become a student of algal biotechnology in Bogota University in Colombia, and he will be submitting his PhD in algae within a couple of months. I am his co-guide. So the other gentleman who is standing here is our engineer. So this project we did for a year, and we completed the project very successfully. We could remove the nutrients, and the setup you see here at the background is our pilot plant. It's about 38 kL. It's a very small pilot plant, but we have been running it for almost a year. And at the end of the year, and we are ready to scale up, and we are waiting for the green signal to scale up. When you scale up, we are going to manage not 38 kL, 300,000 barrels a day. That's huge. So we are planning for that. I'll come back to this project in detail if there is a time at the end. So this is our team there. We call this Team Algae. And this is when we officialized our PICOR. PICOR is a joint venture between a Colombian company called as Core Biotech. Core Biotech belongs to Jaime, this man, and FICO Spectrum belongs to me. So this PICOR is joint venture company, and this is, I think we can see most of the people in the team. We call them as Team Algae, and we have a very good laboratory in Barranquilla, an algae laboratory. I think the video, when it plays, you can see the laboratory there. And it's supported by a university in Barranquilla, Colombia, called the Simon Bolivar University. And they support us with infrastructure. And this laboratory is provided by them. And in fact, we are growing.
Experto mundial en biotecnología de microalgas, destacó la importancia de este
audio
y del trabajo que realiza el grupo de biotecnología microalgas.
And we have been focusing on mostly wastewater treatment.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Restoration of polluted water bodies like lakes, ponds, rivers. And that's how I came into contact with Dr. Jaime. And now I am supposed to be the international advisor for the Simon Bolivar University and the PICOR projects that is happening in Colombia. So this laboratory, which is very special for me, because this is not only a culturing laboratory like any other laboratory, it has a focus on the field, especially the restoration of polluted water bodies in Colombia, which is a major problem, not only in Colombia and in other parts of the world. And Colombia in particular is very good for algal technology because of the bright sunlight that you have throughout the year.
Okay, I think I'll cut down that. I'll be explaining in the mic later. So this is another project that was given to us by a small city in the Caribbean coast called as Puerto Colombia, this one. So this city has a sewage treatment plant which is here, and that has been enlarged here to show 1, 2, and 3 tanks there. I think in the next slide you will see all the 3 tanks, and interestingly, you see the samples from the 3 tanks, the colors are different. It's pale green and dark green, it's pinkish. That means each, although they are in the same place, they have a different composition of algae. We are in the process of isolating these algae and then making a consortium to start with a pilot. And another plant we have put up in a slaughterhouse in Barranquilla, a slaughterhouse called as Camagüey. And this is a very important project for us because this project gave us an idea of installation of one reactor called as BF+. I think you can see here it is called BF+. So that is patented. I think Dr. Jaime has got a patent very recently for South America. And this is the larger version of the B+ reactor. And this project is for treating the slaughterhouse effluent and growing the alga and harvesting the alga and dry it and give the dry biomass to the industry as a coal substitute. So if you see the effluent biomass grown in effluent, it is 3.8 kilocalories per kg. And brown coal is 3.5. So definitely the biomass that is grown in wastewater has got a higher calorific value. So it is now being used as a coal substitute in this industry. And very recently, I traveled to Colombia in February, March. And I returned to India in the second week of March. And I had to put myself in 28 days quarantine. And this is a project we just started before the COVID, restoration of swamp in Sucre. So this project has been given to us by the Colombian government. I will just show you the video so that you can see, yes, the place, you can see the place. It is in the Sucre district of Colombia. Do you see the video moving, Selva? Okay.
It's moving, sir.
Okay. Sorry. So to reach the place, if you see another video that is playing at the bottom, do you see the video that is playing at the bottom? No?
Oh, no, sir.
At the bottom, right hand side.
No.
What about others? Can you see the video? At the bottom, you don't see the video running? The vehicle going in a savanna.
Yes. Now it's so visible, sir. Now it's visible.
Okay. So this is how we reached this spot. I mean, it's the Sucre district is a savanna place. They call it Sabana Larga in Spanish. So literally there is no way. I think it is like Oteri Pade. So you have to find a way to reach the place, and I'll show the place where we touched. I think the Google map will show you where we actually touched, and then we took a boat from there. Do you see the Google map running video? So this is a spot where we touched, and then this is a canal of the Sucre swamp, and we reached this spot. This is it's a very big swamp. You can see it is divided into 2 parts. There is a narrow connection there. So we are starting our treatment here in this little smaller road. This is a very big one, but this is a little smaller. And our team, I think if I show you the picture. Okay. This is our team. And this is a fish. This is the lunch I had in the afternoon. And this fish was caught from the swamp. So the people depend on the water body for many things. And after touching the place, we took a boat. I think you can see these videos to reach the place. And we had a video team, and we had people who guide us. About 14 people we have been sitting in a very small, shallow boat to reach the place. It's a very hot sun. And after reaching the place, I think we used as you can see this drone to play. So this is the swamp that we are supposed to clean. It's a huge area. And this technology, I think I will explain this technology a little later. We call it as Phycoplus technology. And for Phycoplus technology, what we do is we isolate algae from the polluted water body and try them in the laboratory and look for the robust species which are not blue forming. We avoid harmful cyanobacteria. We mostly collect the green algae and then form a consortium and bring it to this facility, central facility. It is situated in Sucre district in the middle of Savannah, the remote place. So we have a central facility where we introduce this alga, provide a lot of nutrients, grow them, then harvest them and take them to the site in this truck. So that 1,000 kiloliters of algal slime for distribution into in the lake, in the swamp. Done it anywhere in the world. To tell you the basics, this is like, any water body, you will have beneficial algae, toxic algae, and you will have, beneficial algae and toxic algae. Toxic algae or the harmful algae are in large number, then there's a problem, like in Sucre swamp or in the reservoir where we have the cattle death or fish die due to toxicity or organic conditions. So what we do is we collect the sample, identify the algae, and along with the harmful algae, there will be beneficial algae growing in small number. They will be very weak. So we isolate them, bring them to this facility, central facility, where we grow them with a lot of nutrients, make them stronger, and grow in a large intensity, and take them back to them in their original ecosystem. Now they are ready to fight with the harmful algae. So this is actually the TV coverage. I just played
El 52% presenta bajo proyecto de investigación que tiene por objetivo demostrar la efectividad de la ficorremediación para la recuperación de la ciénaga, donde desemboca el arroyo grande de Corozal, en el municipio de San Benito Abad. El proyecto, que se financia con recursos del Fondo de Ciencia y Tecnología del Sistema de Regalías, tiene como aliado.
Anyway, you are not done. Follow it. So this is another thing that we did in Colombia that I think many other places we have not started. We engaged school students in a remote village called as San Benito Abad. It's a very small village, much closer to the water body. And we selected students, volunteers, and this girl is the teacher there. And we formed them into groups. We call them as algae, chlorella group, Senodesmus group, Oocystis group. So we made them to understand what is phycoremediation and asked them to prepare charts. So those who are having this green are the leaders, group leaders. So they prepared the charts, and we are supposed to meet the local communities. So this is the meeting we held in March, the local communities, and these students, they prepared these charts just to publicize, just to make awareness of the basics of this technology, so that the villagers who are living around the area, they understand what we are doing. So this is really good. And in fact, microremediation has become a part of their syllabus curriculum in the San Benito Abad school. And they're very happy about it. They're very proud of what they are doing. Okay, I'll go to the next one. So this is another swamp that we cleaned in Colombia. It's called as Mayaquin swamp. And this one, number one is the swamp, and number two is the Magdalena River. And this is another water body. So I'll just show you the map. This is almost on the Caribbean Sea, very close to the Barranquilla. So this is the place. I can see how much it is polluted. A lot of settlements very nearby. And this swamp is bordering this river called as Magdalena River. So they have an interest in a tourist interest. They want to develop this into a tourist place. So they wanted us to work on the pollution. And what we did was, we selected several spots because it's a very big water body. So we cannot put our inputs everywhere. So we selected at random these points, about 9 points, and then started doing treatment. And within few weeks, we were able to reduce the BOD to about 98.3%. So that was another very successful project, and these projects only attracted the government. And we did another project in Colombia for treating a drain, and we got very good results. And another project, a reservoir, a huge reservoir in Colombia, again Sucre district, called as Guajaro Reservoir. So this reservoir, I think if I play the video, you can understand how big it is. Yes. Yes, so big. It's about 160 to 70 square kilometers. It's a huge water body. And you can see it is again divided into a bigger part and also a smaller part, another one. So we focused on this area, this area. Here, the major problem is what they call as harmful algal bloom. And there were instances of cattle dying, fish dying. This belongs to the Atlantico district of Embalse del Guajaro. Embalse means reservoir. So this project we did for a few months, and within few months we could remove the harmful algal bloom from 92 to 100%. Harmful cyanobacteria we removed, and that came in the El Heraldo, it's a local newspaper, and they covered in, I think, November 2019, November is. And the University of Simon Bolivar actually supports us in a large way, and they arranged a press meet on March 4th, just before I left Colombia. And there is a huge coverage. In fact, we had interviews from the local newspaper and magazines and national TV. And I jumped to another project. Iran, another part of the world. I think you can see the ponds here, and this canal actually brings seawater. In fact, the government of Nabahar city as a waterway city, they dug this canal for about 4 kilometers and stopped. But this canal is useful for us because we can draw water, seawater, directly from this canal. This is our site. You can see 4 ponds. Each raceway pond is about 1 lakh liters. So we have been running this for a year almost. Now we have stopped it because of some delay in funding. But this is a very, very successful project. We are now talking to nearby oil agencies for the flue gas, because basically we wanted to mitigate the flue gas and grow Dunaliella, and then grow develop the biomass and feed it to tuna. Tuna fish business is a very big business in Colombia, in Iran. And this is our species. You can see even low power of the microscope, it's so huge. And this is our pond with about 1 lakh liters. And when it turns red, I think the beta carotene production happening. So with this foreign tour, I am jumping into some Indian projects. This is a very important project we did in Tata Steel, Jamshedpur. After returning from my visit to England, because when I visited England a few years back, I visited Tata Steel in Port Talbot in Swansea. So after coming back to India, I was called by the R&D head of Tata Steel Jamshedpur, and he asked me, "You are going to UK and visit Tata Steel, why don't you come to Jamshedpur?" So they have a problem with the system they already have. Their system of treatment of the Tata Steel wastewater was installed in 1994. It has an Arabic, I think you can see the diagram here, an anaerobic part, and in between it has got a settler. It's a very, very simplified diagram I have given you. So they have a problem in the Arabic part because the Arabic bacteria is not growing very well. So they have been using bacteria. So what we did was we asked for the sample. So they have a problem of color. I think you can see the color is removed within 4 hours with algal treatment. This picture shows you that. And then they have a major problem with cyanide and ammonia. And I will explain this project a little later. But what we did was we constructed. Okay, this is where we are supposed to intervene. So this is the actual setup they have. They have huge treatment plant. So this is where we are supposed to intervene. You can see a circular tank here, and this part of it is the Arabic part, and this part of it is anaerobic part. This is the part where we are going to intervene, and the quantity is around 8,400 cubic meters. Huge. So we constructed a small pilot plant with the same facility that it had with a large scale, with the vertical system, and it's a vertical system with the Arabic part and anaerobic part and the settler, and also we have supplemented with the LED lamps, because the area we selected, it is in between large buildings. So only at daytime, at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, it will get sunlight. So we wanted to have a supplementation, and we install this LED light. This will glow red, blue, and white. Another project, and very successful project, a scaled-up project we did with another Tata group, the Titan in Hosur, Titan Jewelry Division, where they have a problem with the reject from the electroplating unit. So this is very important because this is the first time we handled a TDS of around 68,000 milligram per liter. So you can see the raw effluent and the treated effluent, and average TD is around 58,000 input, and the ETP we went up to 65,000, and we were able to evaporate the water, remove the color, and avoid the sludge. Otherwise, they will be making a lot of sludge. So with this industrial wastewater, I go into another Indian project. That's where we started with the polluted water body treatment in India. So this project only took us to various places. This is called as Mainath Lake Restoration. Mainath is a small village. This is a village. It's a small set. You see here, it's a huge 2 acres lake. You can see it is blackish completely. And it is polluted by the runoff from the households, the runoff from the agricultural field, and the government of Uttar Pradesh actually banned the use of that water because it has become toxic. So this was actually given to us. So this is how it looked. I think the first picture you can see, it is completely covered with thick scum of duckweeds and harmful cyanobacteria. So we started with our technology. So every 5th day or 6th day, we started spraying our algae and Phycoplus, and this man is spraying. So after each spray, I think you can see improvement happening. And after a week, you can see the whole water becoming transparent. I think if you see the next slide, yes, you can see this is before, this is after. So 2 weeks after starting the treatment, the duckweeds and the cyanobacteria are gone. Water has become transparent, and BOD, COD has come down graphically. I mean, yes, I think I can show you.
We stop.
Yes, this table, you can see the BOD coming down to 84, reduction 84%, COD 82%, and the E. coli and coliform is almost like 99.5%. And this is the project where we also involved the local school students. And I think this is on Sunday. They were very interested to see the algae under plant microscope. And after this successful project, we started getting many calls from the small lakes, ponds, and temple tanks. So there's another temple tank in Johnson where we could use our Phycoplus technology and clean it within a few weeks. And after cleaning, even after 3 months, it is still not polluted like before. So even after 6 months, I think we called them to find out what is happening. Normally, what we told, we recommend is every month after restoration, you have to go for a maintenance dose of our product called Phycoplus. But surprisingly, this tank, Chansi tank, after restoration, even after 6 months, they have not come back. That means it's not getting that polluted even after 6 months. That's a good result that we got. And with this background, we approached National Mission for Clean Ganga for a project with a Ganga cleaning. But they said that it's good, the technology is good, but you have worked with water bodies which are not moving. In other words, you have not worked with river or drain or streams. Then we took up another project in Maligaon, a river called as Mausam River. This Mausam River actually runs for about 10 kilometers from Maligaon and joins another big river called as Girna. So this river, because of the inputs from the sewage from the Maligaon small town, and a very big textile plant called as UT Textiles in Maligaon, they are dumping sewage as well as the raw effluent without any treatment into this river. So we thought if we get some project for treating the UT Textiles, we thought we can clean the whole thing. So we went into agreement with the UT Textiles company. We did laboratory studies. We went for the pilot and we scaled up finally. This is a scaled up plant. So after scaling up, we treated the in effluent, along with effluent, with a lot of doses of high density of algae. We let it into the river. And we analyzed the parameters like pH, BOD, COD, ammonia, E. coli, and coliform. Before, this is the upper table is before, and the lower one is after. And Diane is the 0 point, and Chandanpuri is the 10th kilometer point. I think you can compare the COD. COD at the 10th kilometer, it is 188 before treatment. The same COD at the 10th kilometer, Chandanpuri, it is 21. So we are able to reduce this COD more than 90%, even if it is running. In fact, more the river distance runs, more the distance it runs, the efficiency will be more. So we proved our technology not only works for the standing waters like lakes, pond, and reservoir, it can work much better for running water also, because whatever inputs we give, even if the water is running, it is carried along with it. So the reaction will be, activity will be happening when it is carried to a long distance. More the distance it travels, I think efficiency will be more. So with this, we submitted our results, and the National Mission for Clean Ganga sanctioned us a project, and they actually approved our Phycoplus technology. And very recently, Central Pollution Control Board has released a guideline for restoring polluted water bodies. On the 22nd page, they have mentioned Phycoplus technology. That's very good. I mean, getting a... So this is a project we started for this thing. I will explain this later if there is a time. And this is another pond that we could, that's very, very badly polluted pond. I think you can see the pond, how it is before, and this is after. The water becomes clean, and in fact, the fish were dying. They had developed diseases. You can see red patches on the surface. And pH was almost 4, so acidic earlier. So when we started treating, within few weeks, the fish has stopped dying, the redness gone, the fish become more active, more healthy, the dissolved oxygen raised to 5.5, the pH raised to 7, clarity improved, you can see the bottom of the lake, and algal bloom was cleared, and we could re-establish the normal food chain. So this is another pond, as you can see before, it looks very bad, and this is after. And very recently, we cleaned a 40-acre lake in Spik, Tuticorin. So this man is actually using a float to distribute the Phycoplus. And just before the COVID lockdown, we were invited by Meghalaya government to restore the acidic rivers. They have 3 major rivers. I think I've given here Muvaku stream and Satunga and Rimbai. 3 rivers which are acidic. Why they have become acidic? Because, you know, this I think I'll stop this video. Okay. So this, I think you can see here, a lot of coal. So in Jowai and also in Shillong, nearby Meghalaya area, everybody is doing this coal mining, what we call as rat hole mining. Although it is illegal now, it is banned, but it is happening. You cannot stop it. Everybody is mining coal, and people are very wealthy. The problem is the sulfuric acid seepage happening all over the area, and that finds a way into the rivers. You can see the rocks or the river is acidic. You can see the water is very clean. For a tourist, this will look because clean water, but it is acidic, 2.5 to 3.5 pH, and no life occurs there except these plants here. In water, there is no life. So this was given to us, and we have set up a central facility. I think you can see this facility with bamboo. We have put up this raised ponds. At night, we use LED lights. So we have just started it just before the lockdown. We are now waiting for the clearance. So we will be using this algae and then to restore, using the Picopus technology, to restore the river, Rimbai River they have given. I think we are getting more projects also. But this is very, very challenging because the water you see here is acidic and there is no life in it. You have to restore and bring back the food chain and raise the pH at least to 7. That is really challenging. We actually located the dosage point. This is where we wanted to dose. This we are supposed to take. So we have, located all that. But this is really challenging. And just before the lockdown, I think December 17th, we inaugurated another pilot plant in Jamshedpur, not in Jamshedpur, Tata Steel Haldia in West Bengal. And this is our pilot plant. And this pilot plant has 42 KL capacity. It's a huge pilot plant. For a pilot, 42,000 liter is huge. But we have put up it's an evaporation plant. And I think the background, you can see the evaporation point. We have put up 2 tiers, the ground level evaporation and also the first tier evaporation. And this is another project. I wanted to show this because this is a project we just started again in Colombia. And this industry, it's a textile industry. Yes, this is where I think it's almost the central port of Barranquilla. Barranquilla is a very, very beautiful city. I think somewhere here, yes, somewhere here we have put here we put up a pilot plant. Yes, this is a pilot plant. This is when I visited, I took a picture. This is very, very important. I think you can see the result. The raw effluent is dark and the final effluent, the color is gone, the BOD, COD, everything is lowered to very low level. And this is very important project because this is the first time in the world using phycoremediation technology. We did a continuous flow treatment process. Normally we go for a semi-continuous process where we'll be adding and removing every day. So I have not explained all those earlier, but this is I'm showing this mainly because this is the first time we introduced the continuous flow process, and this is working very well. I mean, actually, if you see the effluent, raw effluent, you cannot imagine within hours you are going to get as pure as a crystal water with all the color gone and BOD, COD gone, and the toxicity is completely gone. So this project, we are restarting it after the COVID. And we have, signed an agreement with another company in Italy called Algetalia. We'll be putting up a huge facility. I think they have already started putting up the Reservoir pond facility in Sicily, where we'll be growing mixture of algae. And then this company, Algetalia, they have experience of more than 20 years in dealing with biogas and power. So biogas to power and has a very good market in Italy. So we are putting up this facility here. I think after the lockdown is over, I'll be traveling to Sicily to oversee what they are doing. So these are all our clients. I think I have reached the introduction part of the my presentation, although I have not explained many things. I thought if I am given 5 minutes, I can explain at least 2 industries. I have a list of 50 industries and the material for more than 3 hours. I think I've reached 55 minutes now. I think I have to ask the organizer to give me 5 more minutes. Or what's Selvin?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay, I'll take just 5 minutes. Quickly, explain. So normally people will ask me, what is the methodology you follow? So I think the methodology looks very simple. There are 3 steps involved: lab scale feasibility, the pilots or small scale at the industry side, and scaling up. So when the pilot is through, scaling up is only multiplication. Lab scale feasibility, we collect the sample and do some screening to identify a consortium of algae which can do the job within a week. So we don't do any experiment beyond 7 days in the laboratory. So in our opinion, doing more experiments in the laboratory and spending time is a waste of time, because what you experience in the pilot or in the field is completely different. So we jump into the pilot within a week. Pilot is run for 3 months maximum. In fact, we now call the pilot a small scale now, because when you say pilot, it sounds R&D, because no industry wants to support you for any R&D. They want a clear-cut, viable, working technology to be installed. They don't want to try. If you say pilot, is only trial. So for the industry, we always tell them small scale. So we put them 10,000 liter or 15,000 liter, and in Tata Steel we have put 40,000 liter pilot or small scale, run it for 3 months and then scale up. So scaling up is only multiplication. So once you are through in pilot for 3 months, you can collect valuable data. With that you can scale up very easily, but still there will be more problems cropping up, unexpected problems may be cropping up in scaling up also. But with our experience, I think you can fail and then address all those problems. So these are the list of algae we normally isolate from industry side. This from the Suntex process mill, this from the dyeing industry, this from Coca-Cola industry. So this is from oil drilling industry. I think oil drilling industry has more algal diversity than any other effluent plants. So we isolated all this, and we have a culture collection at our laboratory in Chennai, about 150 plus, and these are our soldiers. From them we isolate, we take the consortium and then take it to the field. So before I go to the the industrial project, I will just tell you what are the advantages. So major advantage is a pH correction. In fact, the first project we did 20 years back, it was for correcting the pH. Normally the pH of effluent will be mostly acidic. Very rarely you see alkaline pH. So whether it is acidic or alkaline, the pH correction is the first step. They use caustic soda or sulfuric acid or sodium hydroxide or lime to correct the pH. And that starts the problem. When you start adding chemicals to manage problems, and then that will become accumulate and finally end up in sludge. Color and odor removal, sludge reduction, POD and COD reduction, nutrient removal, including ammonia, better management of RO rejects, and reduction in operation costs. If your algal technology works, because we are not adding all those chemicals here, we will be straight away saving more than 90% of cost. That is huge. And finally, you can claim that because you are growing algae in large quantity, it is like growing a forest. You can capture carbon dioxide and to running the forest. You can always claim that your carbon footprint is very good. And okay, I'll skip all this. So this is, I think I'll take just 2 minutes just to explain. This is the first project we did, still the best project in Ranipet. So here, it's a chemical industry that uses seaweeds and extract alginate using sulfuric acid. Since the raw material is seaweed, they wash and then they use sulfuric acid that is also washed, and the residuals of sulfuric acid, the salts, all go into the effluent. They recycle the water several times. So when the water comes out as an effluent, it is highly saltish, 40,000 to 70,000 milligram per liter, and highly acidic, 1.2, 1.3 pH. So you are supposed to correct the pH with tons and tons of lime, and since the TDS is very high, more than 40,000, You cannot reuse it. You cannot put an RO. RO will not work even for an hour. You are supposed to, evaporate. And these are the tanks that you have been using earlier for evaporation. So using algal technology, we could eliminate the process of the solar evaporating ponds, reduce the area from 11,000 square meter to 4,000 square meter, and evaporate the water, correct the pH without caustic soda, and not ending up in sludge. That is a major advantage of algal system in algae-based evaporation process. Normally, if you evaporate the water with 40,000 to 70,000 milliliter of TDS of this volume, they have been generating around 1.5 ton dry sludge every day. But for the last 14 years, we installed this and scaled up to us in 6 September. So last 14 years, it has been working. It is evaporating so much of water, and they are not generated even single gram of sludge. Instead, they actually produce huge amount of biomass, algal biomass, which they make. Yes, this is how it looks. So this area they raised, and they also maintain this lake without pollution. That is another advantage. So when there is rain, you can shut down everything and use it as a rainwater harvesting system. This is a sum. They collect water. When they collect water for 1 year, it comes for 6 months. And the huge amount of biomass used to produce algal compost and aquaculture feed, plankton, and also biofertilizer. And aquaculture feed and biofertilizer, they are also exporting it. And remember, fish feed and biofertilizer coming from a chemical industry waste, that is really unthinkable. But this is how it looks. What used to be a headache for the industry is a pride. And very recently, they have put up a solar plant over this. And the only motor that is running there is running using this solar panel. So now it has become completely green. And by running this facility, they are actually capturing carbon, around 1,200 tons of carbon every year. So they can claim that they are capturing, it is like growing a forest. Growing algae is like growing a forest. I think I can stop here. It's already 12 o'clock. And I can allow people to ask questions, or I can answer the questions that I have already put up. And probably I go to other slides if there is a question asked about other industries, because I've got about 50 industries. I don't think I can go ahead. It's already 1 hour. I think I can stop here and answer the questions. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. And it looks we have a few questions, sir.
Okay.
And Mr. Suresh asks, how the microalgal biomass is removed from the water bodies after restoration?
Okay, it's a very good question. In fact, see, we need to, because this effluent treatment and the algal production, there are two different things. If you want to produce algae, use reservoir ponds or highly productive photobioreactor and all that for production of algae. This is for treatment. For treatment, you are supposed to maintain the minimum cell density that is required to carry out the reduction of BOD or COD or correction of pH, and you will be needing this biomass always there. Only the excess biomass that is settling, that can be pumped using sludge pump, like the SNAP is doing already. I think SNAP industry, I think I showed how they are doing. They actually pump the sludge from the bottom. Yes, this is the sludge. You see the algal sludge there after you drain all the water. This sludge is pumped into their production facility and make algal. So they are doing it every 6 months. So regularly you don't need to harvest the alga here because it's not a productive system. It's only a treatment plant. And how you harvest, we actually have different ways, like using polyelectrolyte, using filter bags, or using cationic polymers, or auto-settling. It all depends on the consortium that you are using. Some algae can settle if you don't mix it for an hour, because of the heaviness, it will settle. Some algae may not do that. So use polyelectrolytes or cationic polymers, very, very small quantity, normally used for water treatment, non-toxic. So these polyelectrolytes actually degrade into water and carbon dioxide later. So they are not toxic. So you can very comfortably use and safely use those polyelectrolytes and then settle. And of course, you have the filter bags and then industrial level filter bags are available that you can use. Filter press. Okay.
Thank you, sir. So next question from Mr. Nagaraj. How can heavy metals can be removed from polluted water bodies?
Okay, I expected this question because many people worried about heavy metals. And you know, the industries, except some paint producing industries, electroplating industries, and the industry that very rarely they use metal-based chemicals. Of course, people are talking about chrome and leather and all that, but the CLRA say, people say that they even remove the chrome. Effluent chrome is not a problem. But algal systems, they have the capacity to accumulate, degrade, detoxify, or bioconvert, and make into nanoparticles and vaporize. There are so many mechanisms. It's very complex. But supposing you have the heavy metal accumulated in the biomass, it has removed the heavy metal from the water. It is in the biomass. You can settle the biomass, burn the biomass as a coal substitute because it has a high calorific value. From the ash, you can recover those heavy metals if you want. Or handling ash is much easier than handling huge amount of water originally that had so much amount of heavy metals if they are. Okay.
Yes, sir. So another question from Jyoti Reddy. Is there any method to minimize the solid waste pollution from open dumping yard with microremediation?
Actually, we don't work with solid waste. We work with waste that is soluble. Because only algae can do, whatever that is available in liquid. But if you pre-treat them, the biomass, the biomass, with solid biomass or solid waste with fungi or bacteria or a combination of fungi and bacteria, like they do in anaerobic digesters, the digestate that is coming out with a lot of nutrients can be treated. Because we did a project, I think, if I have a time I can show, we did a project with a company called as Ramki. I think you might have heard about Ramki in Hyderabad. I think yes, it is there. So we worked with municipal solid waste leachate. Municipal solid waste is the major problem, and it is done by Ramki in Hyderabad. But the leachate that is coming out in thousands of liters in the treatment plant is a major problem. So we put up a plant there just before demonetization, and it was giving very good results. As you can see from the number, the algae was growing very well. But we lost the project because of the demonetization. Anyway, thank you.
Yes, sir. Another question from Janavi. Can this process be done for Mithi River of Mumbai?
Yes. In fact, I never expected this question. Because 3 years back, we have been invited by the Mumbai corporation for a pre-bid meeting for treating or restoring a part of the Mithi River in the Bandra Kurla area, where the IAS quarters and all that there. So they wanted us to treat 1 kilometer to 2 kilometers of that part of it in situ. And I stayed in Mumbai to go through the entire Mithi River. Mithi River is not a river actually, it's a sewage. Only during rainy days, it's an overflow from two lakes that supplies water to the city. So that goes into the one. In rainy days, no problem, it gets washed. But the remaining days, because the sewage, a lot of illegal industry dumping their waste, it finally enters into Markham Creek. So we just analyzed and mapped the entire area. We submitted the proposal to the Mumbai Corporation, and finally nothing happened. It is possible. We have already attempted a few years back.
Thank you, sir. Next question from Mabel. Please mention few algae that can be grown to treat the water in which ornamental fishes are grown.
Okay, I think normally the fish they eat the algae which are which actually, I mean, fish may not eat directly. Many fishes. The fish zooplankton, eat zooplankton. There are fishes which can eat algae directly. But I think you asked about cleaning the water where fishes are growing. I think microgreen algae.
Yes, sir.
We normally use microgreen algae for treating. In fact, we did a small project for an MPhil dissertation where we actually grew the algae in culture, centrifuged it, and then condensed, and then entrapped it in sodium alginate granules, and then using a small net, fish net, we tied it and suspended it in fish growing water, fish tank. So that was actually taking up the nutrients, ammonia, urea, everything, and by photosynthesis they were evolving oxygen and cleaning. So that way you can actually suspend a bag of algal beads. That we have tried, it was working very well. But we never gone for commercial because commercial is not that big project for us. So we never gone beyond the small fish tank project. But yes, your question is very good. You can entrap microgreen algae in sodium alginate beads and then hang those beads in a bag of a net in fish tank. That will be cleaning and also evolving oxygen for the fish. So you don't need to clean, remove the water, replace the water, change the water every day. Have I answered your question? I don't know. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So another question from Aditya. How to produce biofuels from algae using wastewater as the substrate?
No, any substrate, if it supports algal growth, you can produce. But how to produce is a major question because there are a lot of ways by which you can make energy out of algae. The crudest thing is you dry algae and use it as a coal substitute, or use it as a feedstock for biogas and power. Right, I think the project that we have just started in Italy, or you can extract oil and convert into biodiesel, or using hydrothermal liquefaction, you convert the wet biomass into biocrude. That biocrude is like a crude oil and goes into the refinery, and then you can go up to jet fuel. And people are also working on algae-based biohydrogen production. And biomethanol production is also another thing, but nothing has come to the commercial scale.
Thank you, sir. Mohan Raj asks, is there any phycoremediation projects going on in Tamil Nadu? If yes, in which area?
Tamil Nadu, yes, Ranipet, we did a number of projects. And right now, I think our projects are restricted to North India, where very recently we have been invited by the Punjab government. I think they are giving us some projects for restoring their ponds, lakes, and water bodies in entire Punjab. And of course, I told you about Meghalaya. And also in Guwahati, I think we are getting some projects. And another project I think we'll be getting in Indian Oil Corporation in Panipat. And we are already running another CTP pilot in Delhi. And another small pilot in Kanpur fertilizer company. These are all the current projects and nothing in Tamil Nadu.
And a question from Muthuraj. Suggest some algae used for pigment extraction.
Okay. Anyway, all algal species produce pigments. And our interest is commercial interest, or we use the pigments for nutraceutical or pharmaceutical or food, color, or food color. And as such, commercially, there are 3 colors or pigments which are now marketed. Phycocyanin from the spirulina. I think spirulina producing people, most of them, they now extracts phycocyanin, and then it can be used for medical analysis. The conversion of this pigment into diagnostic instead of toxic chemical dyes. This can be used medical diagnostics, and they are into a number of food coloring and cosmetics. And the second one is, of course, beta carotene. Beta carotene is available from carrot and other these things also, but beta carotene from Dunaliya light, it's very expensive, and it has got anti-cancer property. Of course, this can be used for making other products also, wherever color is required. We have tried using these colors for textile dyeing also. It is working very well. And the third product, the color product, is astaxanthin from Haematococcus. That is another antioxidant. It's very expensive. And these are all the pigments which are normally people are working on. Of course, other pigments like chlorophyll can be used because the pigments, the phycocyanin is water soluble, and anthocyanin and the astaxanthin and carotenoid, they are water insoluble, they are oil soluble or fat soluble. So depending upon the solubility and the quality, there are a lot of applications you can think of. But these are the 3 pigments now commercially people are exploring. Thank you.
Another question from Dr. Rajan, sir. Can this technology be used to treat the Coombe River in Chennai?
Yes, definitely. In fact, just before Jayalalitha Madam passed away, I think about 6 months before, I was invited by a Spanish company that had an office in Nungambakam. So they were there in Nungambakam for more than 2 years, invited by the Tamil Nadu government for looking into the completely mapping the area and Coombe River. And that lady called me one day. I thought she is calling from Spain. She said, no, I'm coming from Nungambakam. So she called me and said, I think we have mapped the entire area. I think your technology will work. So I will take you to various places. And she asked me to visit her office in the 8th floor of Nungambakam office. And from there, she took me with a map. She showed me the entire Adyar area. I've been living in Chennai from 1975. So the lady from Spain used a map to show me Adyar. And we actually selected some 5 or 6 locations where we can put up based on the morphometry, vertical and horizontal systems, and it was submitted to the government. And I think that is still there. After that, I think within 1 or 2 months after that, I think Madam Jayalalitha got admitted to Apollo Hospital. You know the story later. But we tried, definitely. It can be done. Yes.
Yes, sir. So another question from BB Annette. Is there any easy method for identification of microalgae?
Actually, I'm looking at algae right from my BSc, from 1972. Still, I'm finding it very difficult. And the easy way is to go and meet an expert. So we had people like Professor Krishnamurthy and big people who can very easily you can approach and then send the material to them, and then so now the things are becoming very difficult. Identification, the taxonomy. Of course, now people are going for molecular taxonomy also, finally, for blue-green algae and other things. But initially, you have to be familiar with the morphological identification. And that is done by referring to monographs. And there are a lot of monographs available. So you have to have a training under a good taxonomist, which is a rare species now. I don't know whether I sounded optimistic or pessimistic. I don't. Yes, please let them. You can ask, no problem.
Yes, sir. Is there any provisions to use this system to restore small rural ponds?
Yes, it is possible. It's not very expensive because it doesn't require any sophisticated equipment. It doesn't require any technical people. Anybody can spray this with a small jet pump, or even I think I shown in SPIC Tuticorin. They use a small float to spread this Phycoplus all over a 40-acre pond. So you can do it with 40-acre pond, small 1-acre, 2-acre ponds in villages. Very easy. It's very easy. It's not very expensive.
Yes, sir. That was the question from Mabel, and another question from Satya. Does this method suits to filter all the lakes and rivers of various water reservoirs with variable alkalinity?
Yes, actually we go for a customized solution. I think I have not explained all those processes earlier. So what we do before we go into the actual, so we do a lot of laboratory analysis and then go for a customized solution based on the quality of the water and already existing bio factors like bacteria or other algae, whether it is harmful or beneficial, and try to change the ratio, increase the ratio of beneficial algae, growing them in large quantity in a centralized facility and then putting it back, so that the number of robust species which are beneficial become higher and the harmful algae become lower. So the fight become unequal and the beneficial algae start growing. So this is done by initial analysis. As you rightly said, the alkalinity or whatever you have to analyze and then do some experiment in the laboratory with the consortium of algae which you are going to try and get them data and then jump into the field.
Here is another request from Aditya. Sir, I am interested in working on algal technology in your institute. Is it possible?
I think Aditya has already approached me. Yeah, I know him.
Right. Okay, sir. Next question from Ahmed. Can you mention some of the species of algae that can be used for the production of biofuels?
I think if you go into literature, a lot of right from chlorella to even seaweeds. There are a lot of algae, Botryococcus and all you can use. Only thing is you have to identify an alga which can be grown in a place where you are selected to grow algae. So the environment, the soil conditions, the water conditions, they make a lot of room. In the laboratory, you can do anything because laboratory is a completely controlled condition where you use distilled water and pure chemicals and artificial lab. But in the field, I think you need to have an algae which can be grown in the particular area. So there are a lot of thousands of species, 40,000 to 50,000 species of algae are available. So you have to go through the culture collection that you have or buy from various places and then try to screen in your area with a small raceway pond or a system in the field, and then finally select the consortium or a single algae which can be grown in all seasons that will provide the necessary biomass consistently.
Yes, sir. Why some treated lakes still have high coliforms?
See, I think I showed in the first project that we did in Minath area. Once the algae start growing, the coliform bacteria will come down to more than 95%. So the oxygen, again, the dissolved oxygen plays a major role. If the once you treat the lake, if you leave it, again it will get polluted. So you have to do a maintenance. That's why we recommend a monthly maintenance dose of their beneficial algae along with the Phycoplus nutrients, so that it will be maintained. If you leave it for months, it will return back to original, because you are not stopping all the sewage or all the input that is coming from various sources entering into the lake. If you stop them, then there won't be any problem. But you cannot stop, then you have to maintain. So we are in the stage where we cannot stop anything, and we have to maintain or manage. That means every month you have to do some maintenance, so that the whatever you achieve by initial treatment is maintained.
One more question, sir. Sandra, is it possible to restore the water polluted with fish processing waste using this technology?
Yes, because fish processing will have a lot of nutrients, and it's not toxic also. So they don't use, because fish is edible, and they don't use any toxic chemicals or chemicals which are not good. So I think the fish processing water is good for growing algae, definitely.
Yes, sir. Another question from Mohan Raj. Does sludge have hazardness? If yes, where are they disposed?
Yes, normally any sludge is called as hazardous sludge, hazardous solid waste. That is the terminology. Even if it is not toxic, anything that is coming from a sludge coming from any industry, it is already labeled as hazardous solid waste. And algal technology can help in the initial stages of treatment, where it will remove, degrade the material, so that you end up in no sludge or less sludge, which will not be very toxic. So managing that will be easier. If you are not able to do it, if you end up in sludge, large amount of sludge, can again use algae. The sludge can dissolve. Sludge that is not dissolvable cannot be done. You cannot do anything. Sludge, I think any sludge, 70% of the sludge will be dissolving, definitely. Some 30% may not dissolve. So that can be again put back into algal systems, so that the algae can utilize, and you end up in 20 to 30% of sludge still to manage. That can go into the SLF or sludge and safe landfill, which will not be very expensive.
Yes, sir. One last question, sir, from Nikhil Raj. How long does this phycoremediation process last after treatment?
I think I have told you, every month you have to, if it is a lake or a pond, every month you have to do a maintenance dose. I think I told you in Bihar, a pond after cleaning, they have not come back even after 6 months. So we called them to ask them what is happening. They said, sir, the lake, the pond looks good. So we didn't believe. We sent our own fellow to see it. So our fellow was sent there, and then he saw it's still clean. It depends. Again, it depends. So we normally recommend every month maintenance, one dose of maintenance, so that it will be maintained forever.
Okay, sir. I think we can wrap up at this point of time.
Okay.
Is there anything else you wanted to cover before the wrap-up, sir?
Nothing. I mean, I have a lot of slides. I have not gone through all this. And I think I have given the overview of what we are doing. I think people can ask me doubts with my email or whatever contacts I have. We have websites, phycospectrum.com, and my own website also it is there. And you can go into the website and see what we are doing, and we update the websites very regularly. And you can contact us, and then you can visit our lab in Chennai. after the lockdown is over, of course, and a lot of students from various colleges, engineering colleges, universities, they come and do their short-term projects there. And even people from IIT and NITs and other places, people come here to do their part of the PhD projects, and we give them all the necessary facilities that we have. And we have a huge culture collection. I think people can work on other aspects, other applications. Will be very happy. Thank you.
Yes, great, sir. Yeah, great. So, on behalf of the management, SJC, administrators and faculty of Botany Department, I thank the presenter, Dr. V. Sivasubramanian, for the wonderful presentation and answering all the questions with patience. And my special gratitude to Dr. Kanika Raj for the technical support. And thank you everyone for joining us, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kanika sir. Dr. Kanika Raj.